Hi everyone, this is Amanda, Tracy, and Allison. We're going to discuss Ralph Tyler and his view of the learner. Most importantly to us, we wanted to dive deeper into how Tyler felt about tailoring education to the learner and the responsibility that the learner has in one's own education. As a reminder, Ralph Tyler believed that writing curriculum should be led by four basic questions. What educational purposes should the school seek to attain? What educational experiences can be provided that are likely to attain these purposes? How can the purposes be organized? And how can we determine whether these purposes are being attained? Tyler puts an emphasis on aligning evaluative measures with objectives to ensure that we could measure things that are being taught. To Tyler, the objectives, how the objectives are taught, and the evaluation methods should all be connected to each other. Objectives were key to Tyler, and he believed that they should be built based on several sources: the learner, culture and contemporary life, and subject experts. In today's society, many school districts have moved toward Common Core, which standardizes what is being taught in the classroom, based more on the input of subject experts rather than the learner and the learner's needs. Most importantly, Tyler believed that the purpose of education is to change the behavior in people, and that the school should meet the needs of the learner so that they're learning to behave in a way that is beneficial to society as a whole. So let's dive a little deeper into Tyler's view of the learner. Tyler felt that the learner's whole background should be taken into consideration, particularly the learner's experience and prior knowledge. With standardized objectives across the country, in many cases, taking a student's prior knowledge and experience into consideration can be difficult when developing objectives for the average classroom. Tyler feels that a student's education is the learner's responsibility. Just like some of the discussion we've seen throughout our class, Tyler feels that the students learn from their mistakes and that mistakes are an essential part of the learning process. Ralph Tyler was very positive about the capability of all children. Now, their interests and their needs and their abilities may vary, but Tyler says that he's never met a child who couldn't learn at all. Because the needs and interests of children vary so much, Tyler felt it was important to allow children to learn individually or in groups with peers. This allows students' individual needs to be met while also teaching them social skills and broadening their own interests. We've found throughout our research that Tyler felt it was important for students to be able to identify where they've had a difficult time and be allowed to attempt again if necessary. This sounds very similar to standards-based grading, which is something that many schools are pushing for today. Because of the need to see what they're doing wrong and then be allowed to attempt again, what they're learning must be clearly identified not just for the teacher but for the student as well. Tyler was really a leader in the idea that students should be involved all the way through the learning process, including in the formation and the conduction of evaluation, which all of course leads back to clarifying the goal of instruction in the first place. An argument could be made that students are a lot more likely to take responsibility for their learning if they're involved throughout the entire process. While involving the student throughout the creation of objectives all the way through the evaluation process sounds ideal, our group wondered about the practicality of doing so. We also wondered at balancing the individual needs of learners with the idea behind creating universal objectives that all students should learn, which is the concept behind Common Core. Now, the physical and emotional needs of the learner were important aspects of curriculum for Tyler. While there is much discussion today about topics that are considered age appropriate, we weren't sure about the emotional needs of children and whether those are always met in curriculum. For Tyler, non-academic skills were just as important as academic. He even calls out things like knowing that they can learn or getting along well with peers. To Tyler, students should learn things that they can use in the long term, and those things may be dependent upon the needs of the learner. So let's watch a brief clip about Tyler and his views.
These terms and the attitudes they represent indicate that some leading curriculum builders are overlooking the fact that learning is a process in which the learner plays an active, not a passive role. It is the behavior that the learner carries on with consistency that can become part of his repertoire of behavior, and in this way will have been learned. A human being cannot be forced to learn intellectual and emotional behavior. Only under coercion or when offered tempting rewards will he even attempt a learning task which seems to him meaningless or distasteful. And even then, if his experience with the task is not rewarding to him, he will not continue the behavior, and it is not really learned. Furthermore, the behavior becomes a permanent part of his repertoire only if he continues to carry it on. This means that the learner must see the way in which the things he learns can be used, and he must have the opportunity to continue to employ the learned behavior in the various situations he encounters.
In discussion on students' ability to learn, Tyler felt strongly that it was the school's responsibility to pique the curiosity of a student and motivate her to learn in a way that is meaningful and exciting. There is much discussion through Tyler's work about the idea that all children can and will learn, given the right circumstances. Schools should then track their progress and see how they're helping a student and provide a more effective and efficient learning experience. Tyler felt that there were three major challenges in American education: the struggle to reach all children, the difficulty of transitioning students to adult life, and the demands of education and cultural changes. In many ways, these challenges are still major challenges in today's society. It is well known that there is an achievement gap between the wealthiest and the poorest communities in our country, and Tyler would argue that this is due to schools not tailoring and motivating its students, rather than the capabilities of the students themselves. There's also a growing concern about students' readiness for college and how prepared they are in subjects like introductory level math and writing. Not to mention being prepared for other adult tasks like managing money or doing taxes or writing resumes. While Ralph Tyler may have written his book in 1949, his views on the learner are not far off from how many classroom teachers feel today and would like to view the role of the learner given the appropriate structure. For any further information, please see our references.